It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. A manhunt underway after the Epping Hotel asylum seeker jailed for sexually assaulting a girl is accidentally released from jail. Hadish Kebatu is believed to have travelled to London after leaving this prison in Chelmsford. The Prime Minister says he's appalled. But the mistake prompts accusations that the government has lost control of law and order. Also tonight, a Sudanese asylum seeker seen dancing and laughing after stabbing a hotel worker in Walsall is convicted of murder. The family of victim Rhiannon White described the heartbreak of having to tell her son that his mother was dead.
The scream that left that child that day will haunt me.
The Prime Minister accuses Vladimir Putin of being the only person who doesn't want an end to the war in Ukraine. The gang involved in a Russian-backed arson attack on a London warehouse is jailed. Sheffield Wednesday are hit with an immediate 12-point deduction as one of the oldest clubs in world football files for administration. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. A police manhunt is underway tonight after an asylum seeker who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl in Epping was mistakenly released from jail. Ethiopian national Hadish Kebatu had been living at the Bell Hotel in Epping before being jailed just last month. His crimes had sparked a series of protests outside the hotel throughout the summer. It's understood he was freed from Chelmsford jail this morning and then took a train bound for London. The Prime Minister says he's appalled by Kebatu's mistaken release, while the Deputy Prime Minister says he's livid. The Conservatives say the government has displayed a level of incompetence that beggars belief. Our correspondent Molly Malone reports from Chelmsford Prison now.
I'm arresting you on suspicion of sexual assault on a female under 16 years old, so you didn't have to say anything.
This is Hadish Kebatu, an asylum seeker who was convicted last month for the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl in Epping. He was sentenced to 12 months in prison. Weeks later, and he's been released by mistake ahead of a planned deportation.
Well, I'm appalled and livid on behalf of the public that Kebatu is at large. He should be deported back to Ethiopia after the sexual assaults that he's committed. And of course, there is now a manhunt with Essex Police, the Metropolitan Police and British Transport Police looking for him.
It was a case which sparked a summer of protests. Kebatu had been staying at an asylum hotel in Epping. His crimes happened just days after he'd arrived in a small boat. The family of his victim are said to be incredibly distressed.
The family are gutted. I mean, I can only speak for the father because he's a close friend of mine, but he's heartbroken. It's an insult, and everything that he's been through and his daughter's been through. To find out that somebody that sexually assaulted your child just a few months ago is not only out early, he's wandering the streets. It's gutting.
Kebatu was released in error from Chelmsford Prison. He was due to be deported, so he was supposed to be going to an immigration removal centre. But that didn't happen, and so instead he was freed by mistake.
What followed was a manhunt. Authorities say he got on a train from Chelmsford heading for London at just after 12:40 on Friday afternoon. 17 minutes later, Chelmsford police were informed by the prison service of what had happened.
We certainly need a public inquiry into how this dangerous illegal immigrant, who is also a child sex offender, got released. It is an absolute disgrace that this incompetent Labour government has allowed this dangerous man out onto our streets, and this evening he is posing a risk to children.
There are many questions about how a handover of a criminal could go so wrong.
Come over here, I need to search you. Don't cry, it's going to be OK.
A prison officer has been removed from discharging duties, but the responsibility for this will be much broader than that.
No, stand up, There we go. And then towards me.
Well, in a moment, we'll talk to our political correspondent, Rob Powell, who's in Downing Street. But first, to Chelmsford Prison and our correspondent there, Molly Malone. Molly, what do we know about how exactly this happened?
Well, there are many questions tonight about exactly that. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, saying it's totally unacceptable, saying he's appalled about what happened, as it was essentially meant to be a sort of standard handover, really, from the prison here in Chelmsford to staff at the Immigration Detention Centre. Instead, he was mistakenly freed, mistakenly released. I think we can show you some footage of what apparently purports to be him in Chelmsford today, in his prison clothes, supposedly clutching a bag of belongings. I'll tell you a little bit about what we know so far about his movements this afternoon. After being released here at Chelmsford Prison, he travelled a mile to the train station. Essex police then believe he boarded a train at 12:41, Greater Anglia service to London Liverpool Street. The train stopped at Shenfield railway station 10 minutes later at 12:51, and before reaching central London, the train then stopped at Stratford at 12 minutes past 1. The final station was London Liverpool Street, where that service terminated, but we don't necessarily know whether he disembarked at that station or one of the earliest stopped. But look, if that's the logistics, tonight, of course, there are victims, families, victims of his crimes. I spoke to the father of the 14-year-old girl that was sexually assaulted earlier in the summer. He turned up here at the prison this evening, going in, asking for answers, very much visibly upset, frustrated. He said he was let down by every authority and very upset by what has played out today. He didn't want, understandably, to go on camera. They're incredibly distressed by what they've seen, saying he's felt let down by every authority. So plenty of questions, very little answers at this stage. We do know that a prison officer has been removed from discharging duties, but I think it's fair to say there will be many more questions for the prison service at large.
Molly, for the moment, thank you. Well, our political correspondent Rob Powell is in Downing Street for us tonight. And Rob, this is excruciatingly embarrassing for the government. Both the Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, Justice Secretary, and the Prime Minister have said that they're appalled by what has taken place. What now?
Yeah, I think given the heat on the government over migration, I can barely think of a more embarrassing and damaging story than this. I think ministers, officials here in Number 10 will no doubt have their head in their hands this evening, wondering how something so almost perfectly catastrophic could have possibly been allowed to happen. In terms of where the fingers are pointing here in Westminster, primarily it's towards the prison service and, by extension, David Lammy's Ministry of Justice. He's, of course, also the Deputy Prime Minister, and I think the coming days may be rather difficult for him. And on Monday, when MPs return, they will have some rather probing questions about how this could have been allowed to happen. Analysts have suggested there are long-standing issues about how bits of the government basically interact. The Probation and Prison Service, the Immigration and Home Office, and about how they talk to each other. That will no doubt be explored in full. But look, ultimately, the buck stops here with the Prime Minister, and we have seen other political parties jump on this now because it fits squarely into the narrative that they are trying to tell about the government. For the Tories, this is all about Labour losing control of Britain. For Reform UK and Nigel Farage, this is about Britain being broken and Labour and the Tories both being responsible for that. I think it doesn't help that it comes in the same week that we had that story about another cross-channel asylum seeker migrant who had made it to the UK, been sent back to France under that one-in, one-out deal, but then crossed the channel a second time and had come back into the UK. And I think the real reason, though, why this is very, very, very difficult for the government is that in Westminster we're constantly trying to gauge whether these stories will cut through, as we put it, whether they will really sway votes, reach the wider public. There are some stories that we get in a tiz about here that, frankly, I don't think are picked up anywhere else. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like something that would be discussed at kitchen tables tomorrow morning and in pubs across the weekend, because it fits in to so many of the big concerns that people have at the moment about how the country is being run. And that is the most dangerous thing here for Keir Starmer. He needs tangible results that his plan is working. At the moment, all he is getting is evidence of precisely the opposite.
Rob, thank you. In other news, a Sudanese asylum seeker seen dancing and laughing after stabbing a woman who worked at the hotel in which he was being housed has been convicted of her murder. Deng Chol Majek was caught on CCTV as he followed Rhiannon White from the Park Inn Hotel in Walsall to a nearby train station in October of last year. There he attacked her, stabbing her with a screwdriver 23 times. Lisa Dowd reports.
Watch the man in the grey, feet up, staring at the women behind the bar. As they handed out snacks to the asylum seekers living at this hotel, Deng Majek was fixated. The women felt intimidated enough to ask security at the Park Inn Hotel at Warsaw to keep an eye on him. As they went outside for a break, he followed. And as they came back in, he knocked into Rhiannon White at the back. Later that night, Rhiannon was to become the victim of his vicious and frenzied attack. It left her 5-year-old son without his mum.
I had to explain to him that the person... He asked if Rhiannon was OK, because he knew that we were at the hospital. Alex had to explain to him that her bad man had hurt her. So I initially explained to him that she had a poorly brain, and we tried really hard, and the doctors tried really hard, but they couldn't fix her brain, so she had to go to heaven. The scream that left that child that day will haunt me for the rest of my life.
After her late shift finished, Rhiannon made her way to the station, alone. She's seen on her phone catching up with a friend as Majek follows her into the car park and then onto the platform. It was here that he stabbed Rhiannon 23 times with a screwdriver. Her friend, who was on the other end of the line, heard her screams and called police. Majek is seen walking away with the glow of Rhiannon's phone in his hand and then throwing it into the river nearby. He calmly wanders the streets, even stopping to buy beer. On his return to the hotel, he's filmed dancing with other residents as police arrive.
Very cold-blooded, in my opinion, very odd, having committed such a horrendous, horrific attack, savage I would call it, how he could then behave the way he did afterwards in such a jovial way, dancing, I can't get my head around that.
Rhiannon, who died 3 days after the attack, told her family that she enjoyed her work and felt she was making a positive difference.
We promised her in the hospital we were going to live the way she wanted us to live. And we promised her justice. And that's exactly what we're doing. Life for a life. None of this deportation. I'm not against asylum seekers, whatever, but he's taken my daughter away. He doesn't deserve to be sent back to his own country. Serve his time here every day of his life.
Majek, who claims to be 19 and from Sudan, said that it wasn't him. The evidence showed very clearly that it was.
Just leave him there for now.
Rhiannon's family may never know why he took the life of a woman who they say saw the good in everyone. Lisa Dowd, Sky News, Wolverhampton.
Sir Keir Starmer hinted the UK could send more long-range missiles to Kyiv as Ukraine's allies met in London today. The Prime Minister called for more pressure to be applied to Russia, accusing Vladimir Putin of being the only person who doesn't want an end to the war. Our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn, reports.
The Ukrainian city of Kherson this morning under sustained bombardment from Russia. Putin's forces once held it but retreated from here. What they couldn't conquer, they're now trying to destroy instead. On the same day, President Zelensky back in the UK looking for more help to defend his country from such attacks. Presented by the King with some of the best of Britain's military. Not where he'd like them in his country, guaranteeing its security, but symbolising at least British solidarity with Ukraine. In London, the Prime Minister emphasised the need to force Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin, to the negotiating table.
You have said for months that you're ready for a ceasefire and you're ready to meet Putin. Yet he continues to stall and play for time. Putin is the only person who does not want to stop this war.
Ukraine is hitting deep inside Russia, but strikes like these are not enough to stop constant Russian drone attacks. The Allies hope new American sanctions on Putin's oil industry will bring new pressure to bear. President Zelensky's called for them for months and welcomed it finally happening.
Better now than never. So we are very thankful to partners, to Europe and to the United States, with sanctions on Russian energy sector.
So some progress towards putting stronger pressure on Vladimir Putin, but on its own, it won't be enough.
We should regard all these sanctions as just another weapon. It's economic warfare. I don't think that it's a turning point, but I think that the chances of some kind of a settlement are a little bit higher today than they were, say, a couple of days ago.
Whatever the diplomatic progress, the reality on the ground remains more of this for Ukraine: relentless Russian aggression on its territory. Donald Trump has swung like a pendulum during this war between Russia and Ukraine, but he does seem to be leaning now more in the favour of the Ukrainians. The leaders meeting here are hoping to make the most of that, capitalising on the moment before he changes his mind again.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me all right?
This week has seen an unusual level of alignment between the Allies on Ukraine on both sides of the Atlantic. It's anyone's guess how long that will last. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, the Prime Minister also warned Russia that the UK will not tolerate hostile activity after a 21-year-old man who was groomed by operatives working for Russia was jailed today for 17 years. Dylan Earle, who was working under orders of the Kremlin-linked Wagner mercenary group, admitted orchestrating an arson attack and plotting to kidnap a billionaire Russian dissident in London. Our correspondent Sadia Chowdhury reports.
Down on the floor! Stay still! Stay still! I've got handcuffs here. Calm down.
In a car park in Leicestershire, a British man is tackled to the ground by counter-terrorism police.
Behind your back.
He's Dylan Earle and is just 20 here. His lawyers described him as a sad individual who spent hours in his bedroom playing video games. But Earle and his accomplice Jake Reeves were jailed for being Russian proxies. Police say they'd orchestrated the first act of sabotage on behalf of Russia on UK soil. 4 other men have also been jailed for their various roles, ranging from aggravated arson to failure to disclose information. This was the job. A group of them scale a wall at an industrial site in East London and set fire to a warehouse. Inside, goods destined for Ukraine, including Starlink satellite equipment. By morning, £1 million worth of damage had been done. Within days, they were plotting their next attack, to blow up 2 Mayfair businesses and kidnap their owner, a wealthy Russian dissident. During their trial, the court heard how Earle had been in contact with internet users UK authorities say were Russian agents. They'd recruited, instructed and promised to pay the men. They even told Earle to watch the television spy series The Americans to learn how they work.
Dylan Earle and Jake Reeves are the first offenders to be sentenced under the 2023 National Security Act. That's the UK's new espionage law. In sentencing, the Crown went a step further and said the offences had a terrorism connection. They said that the men had acted willingly on behalf of a foreign power, and the judge agreed.
This case is all about the efforts of the Russian Federation to gain pernicious global influence using social media to enlist saboteurs vast distances from Moscow. In past years, our parents and grandparents would have had a simple term for what Dylan Earle and Jake Reeves did: treason.
The court heard the group they were working for was Wagner, a once Russian-backed but now disbanded mercenary organisation. It's believed Russia amped up a shadow war on the UK after it was accused of the Salisbury assassination attempt on former Russian agents.
We've created a hostile operating environment, particularly for Russia, since Salisbury. And as a result, they need to think of different ways of operating. And so what they're doing is using social media, some encrypted social media, to reach out to young people here.
Commander Murphy says more than a fifth of all counter-terrorism policing's work now focuses on foreign state threats. Researchers say 50 such attacks have occurred across Europe, with the number rising sharply over the last 3 years. Russia denies it engages in sabotage. A statement from its embassy in London said, "This recent round of allegations has a familiar and unsubstantiated pattern. Claims are followed by sensationalized coverage in the mainstream media and presented to the public as highly likely facts, devoid of any verifiable evidence." But the British position is clear. Russia has deeply penetrated the UK. Its grasp over young British men is evident, even if the true scale of its shadow war isn't. Sadia Chowdhury, Sky News.
Plaid Cymru's new member of the Welsh Assembly has claimed that Labour is dead in Wales after his by-election victory in Caerphilly. Labour had held the seat since its creation, but came third in yesterday's poll. Reform came second, despite leading a major poll earlier this week. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, reports from Caerphilly.
Plaid Cymru's leader and victorious candidate celebrated a stunning by-election triumph with supporters outside Caerphilly's famous castle.
This is a historic result for Caerphilly and the constituency that means so much to you. It's a historic result for Plaid Cymru, one of the big victories in the history of our party. Come on, Lindsay!
Their message: Plaid are now on course to seize power in the elections for the Welsh Senedd next year. And Labour in Wales are finished.
It certainly signifies change to a massive degree. The Labour Party now is dead, and I think it's time for a new Wales and a new leadership with new vision, new ideas.
I, Lindsay Whittle, do solemnly...
Then for Mr Whittle, elected in Caerphilly at the 14th attempt, it was off to Cardiff to be sworn in as a Senedd member and to begin a new career at the age of 72.
That Lindsay Whittle is duly elected as the member of the Senedd for Caerphilly constituency.
The result, announced after 2 a.m, came after a higher than usual by-election turnout of more than 50%. Celebrating here at this historic castle, Plaid Cymru claimed this was a historic victory. They'll be now hoping that they can take control of the Welsh Government in elections next year. But for Labour, for whom this used to be a stronghold and saw their vote collapse, the inquest begins now. For Sir Keir Starmer, the result was a disaster in what was previously a Labour stronghold. They lost 34% of the vote share.
We've all got to take our share of responsibility, and we will be analysing the result carefully over the next few days, and we will be responding. We've heard the message loud and clear that what we're doing at the moment is not good enough.
Nigel Farage's Reform UK, which had been ahead of Plaid Cymru in opinion polls, was defeated by almost 4,000 votes, partly as a result of tactical voting by former Labour and Conservative supporters.
What was interesting about this was it was very much a two-horse race between Plaid and us. Clearly, the voters are saying we want an end to the two-party political system, the Tories and Labour. Labour went down to 11%. That is disastrous for Labour. The Tories kicked off the field entirely at 2%. And we are seeing that mirrored around the country.
The test for Plaid now is whether they can repeat this success next year, while Labour's grip on power in Wales has been severely weakened. John Craig, Sky News, Caerphilly.
A man has been jailed for a minimum of 42 years for killing a couple and dumping their remains in suitcases near Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol. Yosti Mosquera murdered 2 male civil partners at their home in West London last year. He'd been living with the victims, 62-year-old Albert Alfonso and 71-year-old Paul Longworth. Mosquera had been flown to London by the couple, where he and Mr Alfonso engaged in an extreme sexual relationship at the couple's flat.
It was their tragedy that you, Yostin Mosquera, came into their lives and on the 11th of July last year killed them both. I now have to sentence you for these premeditated and thoroughly wicked crimes. The sentence for both offences of murder is life imprisonment with a minimum term before deductions of 42 years.
At least 25 people have died after a bus caught fire in southern India. Several others were injured when the bus burst into flames after colliding with a motorcycle. Police say dozens of passengers were trapped, some having to smash open windows and jump to safety. President Trump has ordered the United States' most advanced aircraft carrier to head towards South America as tensions with Venezuela intensify. The Pentagon said that the USS Gerald R. Ford would be deployed to the region to detect and destroy drug operations threatening the US. It comes as the US Secretary of War claimed that 6 narco-terrorists had been killed in a strike on an alleged drug smuggling boat in the Caribbean Sea last night. Sheffield Wednesday, one of world football's oldest surviving football clubs, has filed for administration. The club is currently bottom of the championship and has been struggling with financial issues for months. Fans who've been boycotting matches over the way owner Depon Chansiri has been running the club now say they're hoping for a better future. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris reports.
Immediately after Sheffield Wednesday entered administration, fans rushed to remove traces of Depon Chansiri, ripping out seats bearing the owner's name. The scene streamed to supporters, administrators hoping their boycott ends. And the bags of merchandise carried out of the club shop showed the call to spend was being taken up.
I mean, I've had a season ticket all over 20 year, but I washed my hands last year with him. I wouldn't put any more money into his pocket.
It's a difficult day and a difficult day for people to understand, but we're hoping it's a step forward for a positive step and a new era for Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, it's all about now getting a responsible person who wants to kick this club on.
A club that's existed for almost 160 years, in the Premier League until the year 2000. During Chansiri's decade, the Thai businessman put in £150 million trying to rejoin the elite to regain the riches. They fell short and the Owls went into financial freefall. Players walked away as wages were paid late.
Most places you go in, it's doom and gloom when administrators go in. Here I think everyone sees now that a corner's perhaps been turned and we can move forward and try and find a buyer.
But already bottom of the championship, they're now on -6 points because administration brought an immediate 12-point deduction from the EFL.
I've been trying my hardest not to be down, but it's been hard because I know this club deserves way better and deserves to be in the best league in the world. That's what this club deserves, and to be honest, we are a million miles away from that at the minute.
This might seem the lowest point for Sheffield Wednesday, but the players hope after the discord and division they can all dream of better days. But stability for a sale needs Hillsborough being filled for Saturday's match against Oxford United. Rob Harris, Sky News.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by political commentator Benedict Spence and Guardian columnist Zoe Williams. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of The Sun about tonight's top story here on Sky. Its headline, "One Out by Mistake." We'll be discussing that story and others when we come back. Do stay with us.